How you doing? Today we have Sword of Cepheus by Stella Gamma. I love this game. I didn't know how I'd feel about it. This gives you an idea how much I've enjoyed this game. I normally can't read a big PDF on a tablet. I need it in an actual copy in front of me once you get over 100 pages. This thing's 365 pages. I took it away for a weekend. I had to read the entire thing. It got me so much in the mood to run this type of game. I've started listening finally to Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser. It gives you an idea how much I enjoyed it. So we're going to work through it today and hopefully give you an idea what's in it and find out if it's for you. I'll try and do it as fast as possible, because I've taken a pile of notes and I'm probably not going to cover them all because I've taken too many. So it's by the normal crew, which is Omar, Josh and Rachel Hazelwood. They produce kind of like the Cepheus games. I've covered some of their stuff beforehand. Really like a bunch of the stuff they put out, which is cool. And yeah, so this is a sword, the triple sword, it says. I didn't even know there was such thing, genre. So sword and sorcery, sword and planet, sword and sandals. What I really like is this gives you options to run any of them. If you want laser guns in your sword, as in this, like the starting picture here, then yeah, you can do. But that's not the main kind of function of the game. But there's options there for you later on in the book if you want it. There are three main themes to Sword of Cepheus: gritty heroism, dark sorcery, and open world, all of which I really vibe with. So it is the same kind of system. It's the Cepheus system, which is the same as Traveller. Or I don't know, there's bunches of Traveller, but it's 2d6. You're rolling to beat targets. Very simple. You have a set about amount of skills. What really adore about this, which is the same as those games, is the career way of creating characters. It creates really cool characters and really cool story, which I love. So essentially, you have your base statistics, and you have your skills, and you're either skilled or unskilled in something. If you're skilled, if you're unskilled, you take a -3 penalty to all rolls of that particular skill. If you are skilled, you might have a 0 skill, which means you take no penalties, or it might be 1, 2, or 3, which you add to your rolls, which is really cool. You can collaborate. If you help somebody do something and you pass your roll, they get a +1 to their rolls. Because it's 2d6, the numbers aren't huge, which is cool. The difficulty system is really simple, which I super appreciate. The average is 8, and then up in 2s or down in 2s, depending on what it is. So it's very easy to remember. For somebody like me, that's an important thing. So a skill level 0 denotes having basic training, but probably not enough to hold down a job in that particular field. There's very interesting skill lists as you go through it. So you've got things like artillery, which is siege engines, ballistas, catapults, govern, because like Conan, you might end up running a state. There's carousing, because Conan, and like these games are all about carousing. Crafting stuff, liaison, religion. There's jack of all trades, which means you're just not going to take those penalties, which is cool. And all of these skills it gives you flavour of what the game is going to be. You might not need them all in your game. That's perfectly fine. It's not going to be an issue. It's not going to break it. Steward, pertaining to the care of guests, passengers, and others. I just think these things are really cool. It's not just about fighting monsters, although there's a big chunk of things in there that you can fight. So another thing I really like, again, I've seen this in some of their other books. There's no notice or perception skill, which I think rocks. If you're investigating a crime scene for clues, you're going to use your insight. If it's a social thing, you're going to use your social skills. You're using the skill relevant to what you're doing. It's not just a magic skill that you can just find out what's going on, which is cool. It gives you options for, you have your 6 skills, which are strength, dexterity, endurance, education, endurance, intelligence, education, which is a formal scoring, general knowledge, and social standing, which again is pretty important in this, and I really like. It gives you, like, you can just have a stat array that you assign to it, or it gives you other options, which is rolling d6 or having point buys, which is really cool. And it really helps you create the game in the way you want, which it has loads of that stuff within here. This is one of the bits that I love the most, and it really appeals to me. is the character creation in this is the same as Traveller, where you're actually going through career paths. You don't necessarily know what your character is going to turn out with. It's not yours until you've finished the character creation. And every step of the way is building story, which I freaking love. So you start at age 14, you're from a background, from a certain area, and with that you get to choose one of these skills. So automatically your background is starting to give you ideas of who your character is. Then I just put awesome here. I've highlighted too much, so I'll kind of breeze over it. So what you're doing then is once I love the line here, once the character is complete, they become yours. They're not yours until you've completed character creation. So as you're going through your career paths, you're getting to make choices. You're rolling dice to see what happens, but you're also kind of having choices and inputs in it as well. So when you consider a soldier who took a level of liaison instead of melee combat for their turn, what does that mean to your character? You know, did they focus on making connections and diplomacy and deal making? You're developing who your character is through their backstory and creating their backstory as you build it, which I love. Referee will normally determine the amount of terms, but there's other ways to kind of put you off having loads of terms, because every term through character creation you go through, you get to gain stuff and potentially you lose stuff as well. So you start off with you have your basic service skills for your career, and we'll go through that in a sec. They're all at 0, and then you get to pick one of them to have +1. You know what? If I try and talk through this will be confusing. There's a table here that will make it much easier. So basically, you start at 14, you go through a career, and we'll see them in a sec. As you go through them, you start gaining skills dependent on their career. If you have a high enough education, you can gain skills from a different area that would be specific to that kind of career path as well. But it would be somebody who is a little bit more educated would have access to that. As you go through, your character gets older. You can roll for that if your DM wants that, or not. It's 4 years every time. And the older you get, the more chances you might have to roll on an aging table. Aging table means negative things happen as you're getting older. As you're going through, you're rolling on things like events tables where good or bad stuff can happen, but every time it builds character. And then when you get to the end, you get mustering out benefits. You can get cool things that you are then taking with you on your journey, which rocks. It is not short, I've put down here, but it's cool. And they've streamlined it where possible, which I really appreciate. But this is a communal thing, and you're actually building campaign and backstory and hooks as you do this, which I adore. So again, loads and loads of optional rules as you go through this, which I really like. So you could play this game multiple campaigns and it will all feel different. And there's like ranks, and there's lots of cool stuff that you can plug in. And the two of the things they do lovely in this game, which they do in most of their games, is they give you options to take the game, bend it, break it, make it your own. But they also give amazing examples which teach you how to play the game and teach you how the game was intended to be run, which I find really helpful, and I'm terrible at doing that. So there's barbarians. I'm going to pick noble here for a second. There's a couple of things I've highlighted. So you would get to start off with your service skill, which you get a 0 in all of them, and you might be able to increase them as you go. And then you've got specialist skills, which you can gain as you go as well. And then you have your advanced education. If you are have a high enough education, you might be pulling stuff from these areas as well. And that's kind of the way the character creation process works. But you have events tables that you roll on as you go through. And I'll give you an idea of a couple of them. You run foul of criminals or thieves, or the Thieves Guild. Roll streetwise or carousing. If you get an 8+, or if you fail your roll, you lose a benefit roll. If you succeed, you gain an ally, which is cool. You've now got an ally that's a criminal organization that's in your game that you're hooked into. Thank you. Invaded. One of your estates is invaded by foul beasts. Throw leadership +8 or melee combat +8. If you succeed, increase your skill by 1. If you fail, lose a benefit roll this turn. You've now got a baddie or something in your game that you can then use. Warning, the slavery in this game, you do get that. It's like sword and sandal and stuff like that, so you're going to expect that in that kind of setting. But the options in here, I really like to give your player choice of what they do. So here's one which you could roll, which is slavery. You have a chance to become involved with the slaver crew. If you choose to join, player choice, throw a +8 or plus in intelligence or deception. If you succeed, gain a +1 bonus and 1 benefit roll. If you fail, you get an enemy. Cool. Either way, you lose a point of social standing because you've been involved with slavers. If you do not choose it, you gain an enemy, but you do not lose social standing. So you don't get the other benefits, but you get to make choices on these tables, even if you don't like what it landed, because you don't get to choose what happens in events that happen in your life necessarily. These are all the different kind of classes that you can run through, and the career paths are different for everyone. So everyone at your table is going to have something that feels really, really different. There's demons in here as well, which I absolutely adore, and you need it in this kind of thing. So again, as we were talking, life events tables you roll. So this gives you an idea. Depending on where you're from, it depends on the life event table. Okay, so if you're from the hinterlands, a local noble takes interest in you for better or for worse. Either you gain an ally but lose a benefit roll, or gain an enemy. Again, as a DM and as a player, you're wanting stuff like this in your games, because it just, in the process of everybody sitting around the table and rolling characters, you're completely potentially changing what's going to be happening in the campaign, which I love. You've got unusual events. There's just cool things that you roll in character creation that makes cool characters and makes story, which I just think is super cool. Mustering them out, you can gain allies, you can gain enemies, familiars. I love the fact you can't pick; you have to roll. I'd like a toad. That would be cool. You might end up with holdings and places that you need to protect. You might end up with retainers or ships. Really, really cool. So character creation just absolutely rocks in this game. Now, on top of this, then the health point system is a little bit different. You have stamina in this, and you have your lifeblood. Stamina is your endurance characteristics and your athletic skill added together, and I think lifeblood's double that. You take damage initially to your stamina, and you can regain stamina really fast. When you damage your lifeblood, it takes longer to heal, and you can end up getting injuries, which again is cool, and it means you can get in and out of combats fairly fast, but there will be cumulative damage that you're going to have to take time off and spend all that money that you earn, which is super setting appropriate. They've given equipment packs. You can buy your own equipment, but given equipment packs, I super appreciate that, especially with a long character creation process, makes the whole thing easier. You have traits, which again you can gain as you're going through your career paths. You get to pick them. They're like feats, and there's a pile of them, and they're really cool. So varied. Again, your character is going to be super, like, every character is going to be so different. Loads of choices in here, which I really adore. Injuries. This can be brutal. I love the little Skeletor type picture there as well. It can be brutal. That's the setting. That's what you're getting in for. So here is one, and it's a low one, so it's not going to be that easy to roll it. Character is injured and healed badly. Although all limbs and organs function normally, reduce their physical characteristics by 1 each. Yeah, it's rough, but you're going to have a story about it. So goes through a really cool character creation process, gives you options for non-humans. Again, options, they don't have to be in your game, but it gives you loads of non-human stuff that you can throw in here. Draconoid, dwarves, elves, gecko folk. I love it. Omar is a geckoologist. No, it's actually a proper name, but I love the reference to geckos in every game. Yeah, I think it's just super rocks. You don't get that in big published games by huge companies. You get that in games where people who make them actually love what they do. So yeah, I'm going to start flicking through because I'm probably eating into this now. So character advancement is point based. You get points. Gaining, you can end up getting traits, increasing things as you go. It's not leveled, which I really like. And it's like, to get a new trait, you need 30 XP, and they're saying you get 1 to 2 XP per session. So that's quite harsh compared to like 5e and games like that. But this isn't a game about rapid progression. It's about story. It's about history. It's about adventure. So I just think it fits really, really well. Again, you can hack it. It's not going to break the game. Their games don't break that easy. There's information there about dungeoning, stuff like that. Loads and loads of cool stuff. Optional hero points. I adore this. Each player starts with 2 personal hero points, and there's a group hero points pool that the group can use. You have to ask for it. You get to re-roll any single dice roll, or you can ask the GM to re-roll by spending hero points. Very simple, beautiful mechanic. If you fail by a effect of 6. I haven't said about effect. So you have a target. Say a target is 8. If you fail, the distance between the target number and what you roll is your effect, and it can be positive or negative. So if you fail miserably, the group end up getting an extra hero point, which I like. If you succeed amazingly by 6, and it has to be at least a DC 8, then you end up getting a hero point. I really love the mechanics on that. It would really counteract some of the tough stuff that you could be throwing at players and keep the games going and let you push more things at players. And that's what feels these games should be about. It's pushing your luck. It's pushing your adventuring. You get 2 actions in combat. You can either attack twice or move and attack, but I really like that as well. I think it's simple and elegant. It's in quite a few games, but I like it. Range modifiers, loads of them. I'd want a cheap sheet, but it is very, very intuitive. This is the only thing that my brains went, but again, I would probably just be adding 1 or subtracting 1 depending on what's going on for each additional thing that somebody seems reasonable. There's grappling rules. Everybody likes grappling rules. Healing. So you can end up getting mortal wounds. They suck, but it fits you're going through your stamina first, which is cool. I'm not going to break loads and loads of details because there's loads of stuff I want to get onto. So there's loads of vehicle stuff. There's ships. There's sailing. There's all kinds of jazz in there. Loads of information about living expenses, hamlets, how to build stuff. Loads of weapon information. It's an absolutely packed full of stuff that you can use and optional rules as well. So sorcery is gnarly, and I love that because it should be in this game. It takes you about 10 minutes to cast a spell, or you can push yourself and cast it faster, but then you're probably going to end up corruptions and bad stuff happens. That's how sorcery should be in one of these games, in my opinion. So it really, really does fit well. It's not spell slots or anything like that. You roll to cast. You don't want to roll snake eyes because bad crap happens. And it's just a cool, simple system, which is really great. Sorcery mishaps, you can end up getting mutated. You can end up wraiths appear or elementals and you get attacked. Your nearest ally is magically infuriated with you and it's going to attack you for 1d6 rounds, or anybody who gets in their way. I love that. Mutations. You've got things like your skin thickens, you gain armor, but you're going to lose bad stuff. You become an albino, so you have big issues with sunlight. So sorcerers are not built to last forever. They are playing with stuff they should not be playing with, and the more fast and loose they play with it, the faster their demise. But that's quite spectacular. Corruption, you gain corruption. As you gain corruptions, you end up getting things that will make you weaker, which again is cool. There's a spell list. There's 2 different types of spells. So we're going to fire through this. You can see this is a beast of a book. Monster entries. Okay. Instinct and pack. So they have slightly different stats, but the stats are in the same place, so it's not overly confusing. You're not going to have an educated monster generally. And they're kind of like done into subtypes, which I actually really like. So you've got like carnivores, might be a chaser or a pouncer. It gives you an immediate idea of how the behavior of that type of creature could well be, which I think is cool. Loads of demons and loads of options for rolling demons and demonic powers, which again, it really fits in the setting. An absolute pile of animals, and like you've got the classics, but you've also got kind of like the dinosaur-esque type monsters, which again fits the setting. Load of stuff on treasure, loads of stuff on encounters, encounters for terrains, all that sort of stuff. Loads and loads of just really cool GM tools in this. The one thing, this is the one complaint I came, and it was when I was getting to here, is I would have liked more when it comes to the hamlet and village creation rules. That's just me because I'm greedy with that, and that's my little thing that I love. I think it's really hard to do with D6s unless you're obviously Ben Milton, in which case Maze Rats, yeah. But yeah, I would have liked a little bit more in this bit. Page 316, that's what I got to before I got something that I wanted a little bit more of, which is pretty damn impressive. Creating NPCs, and they've got loads of NPCs at the back. They've really put care and thought into this for GMs, so you can just grab a bodyguard and everything's there for you to use, and there's loads of them there. Gives you advice on creating NPCs. There's just piles of stuff, including an adventure at the back as well to get you started. There's also a section on super science. So this isn't really mentioned throughout the book, but here it lets you know how you can use stun bombs and blasters and stuff like that if you want it in your game. So yeah, it is just really, really cool. It was when I got to here that made me just go, oh, I need to read Fafhrd and the Grey Mouse, and I'm not regretting it. So you can get this currently in Drive-Thru RPG. There's a link below, and I think it's awesome. I really like the company. I really like this game. It's made me want to run one of these types of games. So I can't say much more than that. Hope you enjoy this, and I will catch you in the next one. Later.